And the pastor comes to me and he says, Mike, there's a man that wants to see you. He wants to thank you for giving your testimony. He enjoyed it. I said, great, let him come in. So we're in the green room. So the guy comes in. He's, I think, 90 years old at the time. And he's dressed very unassuming, you know, and small guy, you know, he's like, I don't know, 5'5", 5'6". And he starts to talk to me and he compliments me and said, you know, he was very encouraged. He loved what I had to say and so on and so forth. And I said, great, you know, thank you very much. And very cordial, very unassuming, very humble. Then as he's walking out, he says, Mike, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, well, I'm leaving tomorrow. He said, what about tomorrow morning? I said, well, my flight is at 3 in the afternoon, so I'm free in the morning. He said, I'd love for you to come up to my office. And I'm saying to myself, you know, this fellow has an office. He doesn't look like, you know, he's any kind of executive or anything. So I said, well, you know, I'll try. What time would that be? He said, how about 10 o'clock? And he gives me his address and he says, come up to the office. He says, I want to show you some things. So I said, okay. So the pastor comes in and he said to me, what did that fellow say to you? I says, well, he was a very nice man, and he asked me to come up to his office. I don't know what kind of office he has or what he's doing or what. He says to me, the pastor, you're kidding. And I said, no, why? He says, do you know who that was? And I said, no. He says, his name is Jimmy Pattison. I said, okay, you know, what does that mean? It didn't mean anything to me. He said, he's just about the wealthiest guy in all of Canada. He's worth about $12 billion. I said, you got to be kidding. I said, he's a nice old guy. I said, very unassuming. He says, Michael, one favor. I said, what? He says, bring me to the office with you. I said, okay, you're free to come. So he gives me the address, right? I have it. Next morning we go at 10. It's not only his office, he owns the whole building, right? And it's me, the pastor, and my brother-in-law, Dean. So we go up to the office. He's up on a beautiful, beautiful office, all windowed, overlooking the, you know, the bay, the dock there. We had his yacht out in the back, I think 149, 150-foot yacht in the back, right? And I go up into the office, and I got to tell you this. You know, I've seen some beautiful offices in my life, in the World Trade Center, you name it, all over. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Magnificent is the only word I can use to describe it. And he had one wall, Jimmy did. He was dressed in a suit. I met his assistant, a wonderful woman by the name of Maureen, and great story. This woman was with him for 55 years.